Soul 3, a realistic epic fantasy adventure by Wdowski. Note: for your full enjoyment, be sure to read or listen to the end and continue to the next chapter. Chapter 23. Chopson and Josh rode back and dismounted. They quickly approached Dale, who was sitting by a campfire chewing on a beef jerky. Dale could tell from their faces something was wrong, so he stood to greet them. Standing on the opposite side of the campfire, they reported to him. "There is something alive in the cave," Chopson opened. "They're called bats. It is a roost for bats." Dale answered, feeling the warmth of the fire in front of him. "It seems the great author has written something else alive in the cave. Bats are not its only inhabitants," explained Josh. "What then?" Dale was growing impatient with how deliberately they seemed to be dragging out the suspense. "We didn't see them," Chopson, visibly shaken, replied, "but we heard voices." "What did these voices say?" Dale put his hands out over the fire. The nights were getting colder. "It was not a language either of us has heard before," Chopson answered. Looking at Dale over the flickering flames of the campfire, Josh added, "Yet it echoed from the darkness of the cave towards us, just as we finally cut our path out of the forest. It was not written in a friendly or welcoming tone." "No, it was clearly not," confirmed Chopson. "Friendly or not, we need that guano in that cave." Dale was not going to let these voices deter him from accomplishing their mission. Next day, mid-morning. Using the trail they blazed the day before, on horseback, it took them only 2 hours to reach the cave. Dale decided that they would not be hacking their way through more forest to reach the sulfur springs. Besides it taking another day to chop another trail through the woodlands, he also did not want to waste a week or more boiling water for the amount of sulfur they would need. He decided to save time by leaving most of the men behind to break camp and begin transporting the horses and gear across the river to set up a new campsite on the opposite bank. Tomorrow morning, with the guano, they would head south, back down the Riverside Road to the Riverside Inn. He hoped he took enough men to deal with what was in the cave and gather quickly enough guano to fill the packs of 2 horses. "Are you sure we brought enough men?" Chopson was concerned. Dale dismounted and approached the cave, which he felt was very quiet and unthreatening. The bats within had already been asleep for hours. No foreign voices now. He unlatched his Glock on his hip just in case. He turned to Zup. "You smell anything?" "A very strong, acrid, ammonia-like odor," Zup replied, as he too dismounted and pointed his spear at the cave. "That would be the guano you smell." Dale turned to Josh. "Hear anything?" "Just the stirring of bat wings, although it is more like rustling sound than them taking flight. I think they have been written to still all be sleeping." Josh drew an arrow from his quiver, having his weapon at the ready. "But I still remember the foreboding tone of the words written yesterday." Dale gestured for the 2 archers to dismount and be at the ready, in case the owners of the voices did make an appearance. He then turned to the 2 spearmen, signaling them to also dismount and form a line beside Chopson and Zup, creating a defensive line to protect Josh and the 2 archers. The 2 pack boys, Dale signaled to remain behind the archers with all the horses. Pixa was hovering over Dale's right shoulder. She insisted in joining him, then remaining at the camp. She did not want to make the crossing without him. "There is something else in the cave besides the bats. 2 of them, a male and a female." "You can see them?" Dale looked to her. "No, but I can sense them." Pixa looked a bit concerned. "Sense what?" asked Chopson, drawing both his axes from his back. "It is something I have not sensed for centuries," she replied. "For centuries?" Dale was shocked. "You don't look a day over 23. "How old are you, Pixa?" Pixa was stunned by his question. "Dale, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you should know to never ask a lady her age." "How many years has the great author written you to be in his story?" Josh bluntly rephrased Dale's question. Reluctantly, she answered Josh, "I was born 9 centuries after the humans' grand war woke my people from our deepest, longest sleep." "You are talking centuries ago." Chopson had trouble accepting her answer. "Yes, Chopson, centuries." She turned to Dale and smiled. "Do you like older women?" The men in the group all gave a chuckle, momentarily breaking the tension they felt facing the darkness of the cave. You are sensing only two? Dale changed the subject back to why they were there. Yes, Dale, two, yet two are more than enough, she answered him. I want you to wait out here, Pixa. Dale drew his sidearm. I have no choice but to wait here, she replied. Even if I wanted to join you, as soon as I enter pure darkness, I would fall into one of my deep sleeps. She looked up at the sun that filtered through the autumn leaves above them. For a moment she closed her eyes to feel and listen to the breeze that rustled through the trees. I must stay in the light. Dale turned to the spearmen. Leave your spears with the pack boys. Draw swords and make torches. Archers, you are to remain here with Josh. Back us up if we need to flee back out. Flee? Chopson didn't like the sound of that. Orderly retreat, Dale rephrased. Chopson smiled. Sounds better. Josh, you stay out here. You're in charge. Dale turned to the archers and pack boys. Everyone understand? Aye, Major Dale. They all confirmed his orders. Once they had made and lit their torches, Dale, with his weapon at the ready and a torch in his left hand, entered the cave leading Zup, Chopson, and the two swordsmen. Cautiously moving deeper into the darkness, Dale could also smell the guano. The smell was so intense he pulled out a bandana and tied it around his face, just below his eyes. His men followed his lead. Zup, not having a bandana to cover his face, cringed as he dealt with the odor. Behind them they could still see the light of the cave exit, and the archers with Josh at the ready to support them, if needed. Deeper into the cave, the ammonia fumes caused his eyes to begin to water. The floor of the cave suddenly became very soft, as if they were walking on a slightly sticky mud. Using his torch, he lit the floor of the cave around him. It was covered in black, shiny guano. Raising his head and reaching up with his torch, the flickering flames revealed high above him thousands of bats hanging upside down from the cave ceiling. Chopson held up his torch too. They seemed to be all sleeping well. Yes, and no sign of the voices you heard yesterday. Dale whispered as he noticed that the rear of the cave continued at a low angle further underground. It seemed endless. My guess is whatever you heard last night is deeper in the cave, and also very much asleep. Let's hope they stay that way, Chopson also whispered. Dale gestured to the men to move forward and secure the chamber they were in. There is more than enough guano here to harvest. Dale waved his torch back at Josh and the archers, signaling them to send in the pack boys with the pack horses. Josh led the teenage boys in with the horses. Dale pointed to the boys at the black guano at their feet. The boys gently moved the horses around to face the exit of the cave. They then removed 4 shovels from the pack horses, handing 2 of the shovels to Josh and taking 1 each themselves. They all immediately began filling the empty sacks that hung on each horse, quietly. Dale warned them, noticing the bats above were getting a bit restless as the boys scraped the steel shovels against the stone floor as they attempted to quickly fill the bags. None of them wanted to stay any longer than they had to in the cave. Dale was not so much worried about disturbing the brown bats above them. He was, though, concerned in disturbing whatever was sleeping deeper in the cave. We have enough time. Don't make any unnecessary noise. The boys slowed down their shoveling up the guano and filling the hemp sacks. Zup returned from the line of men that secured anything from approaching from the deeper parts of the cave. I think there is a full network of caves back there. He looked at the progress of them gathering the guano. You think there is enough here? Plenty, Dale replied. I am guessing whatever warned you last night is also fast asleep like them. Dale looked back up at the thousands of sleeping bats. Mid-afternoon. Josh whispered to Dale, all the sacks are full. Okay, good. You and the boys take the horses out. Quietly. We'll do a rear guard action and follow you. Dale signaled to Zup and Chopson with the 2 swordsmen to start a slow, steady withdrawal. Zup looked at the cave floor and then up to the bats. Do you think they will appreciate we cleaned up the place for them? I don't think the bats will even notice the difference when they wake, but perhaps the creatures you heard last night will appreciate our house cleaning services. Dale forced a grin, yet he was still not at ease being in the darkness of the cave. He knew he would feel much better feeling the mild warmth of the late September sunlight. The teenage boys made it quickly and quietly back outside with the two packed horses. Josh stayed behind with Dale, Chopson, Zup, and the two other men as they slowly made their way backwards towards the cave's exit. Wait! Josh drew an arrow back upon his weapon as he pointed it into the darkness. They all froze. You see something? Dale looked at the blackness of the rear of the cave, seeing nothing. I thought I heard something stirring. He replied, I think it is okay now. They began backing up again, heading to the light behind them, but all still focusing on the darkness of the deeper part of the cave. Just as they reached the exit of the cave, Josh broke the silence. Run! They all turned to run for the sunlight. Unfortunately, one of the swordsmen lost his footing and tripped over a rock, falling hard, face down onto the cave floor just before the exit. The others stopped to turn to help him, but before they could reach him, something grabbed him, lifted him up, and pulled him into the darkness. Everyone out! Dale shouted as fear struck him for the safety of his men. Once outside the cave, he ordered everyone to mount to make their way back to the great river. We can't just leave him behind. Chopson protested, as the other men murmured in agreement. Dale had not mounted. Gripping his Glock and the torch tightly, he readied himself to re-enter the cave. I'm going back in for him. The rest of you head back down the trail. Get the Guano to East Riverton. He is already gone. Pixa put a hand on Dale's shoulder, stopping him from re-entering the cave. They're awake. Who's awake? Dale questioned her as he fought his urge to rescue his fallen man. A voice in an alien tongue echoed from the darkness of the cave. Ole Retsis. I am not your sister, Pixa shouted back at the voice. Dale then noticed floating in the darkness 2 sets of glowing emerald green eyes staring out at him. Pixa, out of character, barked at Dale and the others. Go! All of you, go now. Ride like the hordes of Hades is chasing you. Dale, feeling the urgency in her voice, quickly mounted and led his men to the trail as fast as their horses could fly.